So that's me. This is where I work, and as Chris said, this is. I was at the Lean Agile conference in Edinburgh, and I realised that there was something that I was passionately interested in that was missing from the conference. So I took a few sessions out and bled profusely into my blog. I'll tweet a link to it later on. What I want to talk about is Agile. In the work I do, I get to visit. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, good. I get to visit loads of teams, from 5-person teams to 500-person teams, and I see quite a common pattern. I see a lot of organisations who are embarking upon an agile transformation. They send their managers and BAs on training courses. They send them to conferences. They give them books to read. They change their job titles to product owners and scrum masters. They stop creating Gantt charts. They start writing stories on post-it notes and sticking them on bean bags. They divide their projects into sprints, and they're all dead happy that they're doing Agile. But in most of these organizations, they forget the developers, they forget the technical staff. No one remembers to help the technical staff change and cope. To my mind, these organizations are pretending. They're not agile at all. They're not doing it right. The technical people, the developers, the testers, the architects, etc., have at least as much to learn as the managers and the business analysts. The technical people have to change at least as many of their habits. They have at least as big a hill to climb in adapting to the new things that Agile demands of them. And yet I see so many organizations who don't give them any support. And the thing is, in order to produce a working product increment every 2 weeks, or even to work at all effectively in a properly agile way, your developers need to acquire a whole new set of skills and understanding. They need to understand continuous delivery, continuous deployment, continuous releasing. They need to understand emergent design, emergent architecture, pair programming, mob programming, test-driven development, outside-in development, collective code ownership, the art of simplicity, the art of not doing stuff that can be pushed back into the future, how to refactor to get good design, how to thinly slice technical problems. The list is very long, and I've almost certainly forgotten to include loads of stuff. I've probably forgotten your favorite Agile technical skill. The point is, an awful lot of these skills are counterintuitive to technical people who are used to working in the traditional way. none of these is easy to adopt. None of these comes naturally to experienced technical people who've been used to working in a particular way. And yet they're all essential to working in a truly agile way in terms of rapid delivery, creating a learning organization, creating the feedback loops that are needed in order to support proper agile working. The thing about agile methods is they were created around the idea that working software is the important thing. It's called agile software development. It's not called agile management or agile business analysis. It's agile software development. The only thing that matters is the software development. Without the programming, there'd be nothing to manage. And yet I see so many organizations where the focus is on changing the way the management behaves, changing the organizational structures, and not actually supporting the technical people in learning how to understand and transition to these really difficult and counterintuitive new skills. An awful lot of agile transformations stop with, Post-its, beanbags, maybe the odd three amigos meeting. And yet the whole concept of agile is that every activity should be subordinate to the production of working software. And I mean subordinate in the theory of constraints sense, because Clark's here. So the thing is, if as an organization, if you're trying to become agile, if you focus entirely on how you measure return on investment or how you manage teams or whatever, you're going to miss the most important boost to your productivity. And that is helping your technical staff with that massive paradigm shift and that huge change in their thinking. Sure, you're going to get some improvements by moving to 3 monthly releases instead of yearly releases, and by prioritizing high value things before low value things. But if your developers are working in the old ways, if your developers are still doing big upfront design, because that's what they're used to, if they're still working on branches and merging late, if they're piling up technical debt because they're rushing or because they don't know how to refactor or whatever, if they're creating knowledge silos by working on their own rather than in groups, if they're developing the application in layers rather than in slices, if they finish the code and then throw it over for other people to test and find all the bugs in it, if they integrate late with each other, if they rely on using the debugger rather than writing tests, if they're doing all of these things still, your agile isn't going to go anywhere. These things are going to slow it down, probably even derail it. That focus on having the managers learning how to write on Post-its is just going to be a total waste of money and time. The XP practices, the practices based on test-driven development and so on, are so counterintuitive that you need to support your developers in producing working software on a regular and rapid basis. As part of your Agile transformation, as part of your adoption of Agile, find someone who can look after your developers. Find someone who can mentor them for the first 6 months in doing these things, in adopting these counterintuitive practices. It's no good just hiring somebody to implement Go CD and thinking, that's it, we've got continuous delivery nailed. Because when that person leaves, it'll just crumble and die. Don't just send your developers on a 2-day test-driven development course. These skills go much deeper than that. They're much harder. They're all interrelated. And people need support. People need help over a long period of time to adopt these things. So this is a kind of plea to people who are thinking about doing Agile. Don't just to Post-its and beanbags. Switch to the XP technical practices. Find someone who can sit with your team, embed themselves in your team, someone who's done it before, and someone who can stay for 6 months and help your technical people learn these counterintuitive skills. That's it. Rant over.